Hi, I'm Kwasi Mensah, and I'm a local Boston comedian. I'm going to record some video of me acting like I know what I'm talking about. So I perform at a bunch of different places around Boston. The Comedy Studio in Harvard Square is one place, the Gas at Great Scott. I've been doing a lot of Improv Boston in Central Square in Cambridge. I've also done a couple places in Davis Square. I did a burlesque show Tuesday, and that was fun. That was an interesting crowd to perform in front of, but they were awesome. They were all for it. And then I've also done Awkward Compliments, which is in Somerville Theater next to the Museum of Bad Art. So I've been doing comedy for only about a year and a half now. So I'm still really new to it, but I've always been kind of an all-around stage whore. Growing up, I always did musicals, sang. I actually moved out to Boston because I thought I was going to be a singer, and I actually did that the first couple of years I was out here. But that kind of died off, and now I'm telling jokes. Local influences, since my local influences are interesting, because again, I've only been doing comedy for a little bit, or a relatively short amount of time. So a lot of my local influences are other comedians who are like going to a lot of the same mics, or like I'm lucky enough to be on the same shows with, like a Lingon Mitra. He's one of the guys, I think he's kind of one of the smartest comedians I know right now, and he's going to be on Last Comic Standing, and he's going to be famous, and he won Boston Comedy Festival. But when I first started off, he would be the type of guy who would have the jokes and be like, God damn it, I wish I thought of that first. But I guess when it comes to local comedians, I think he'd be the person I'd have at the top of my list. So when it comes to like my bigger national influences for comedy, I think the first off the top of my list has to be Dave Chappelle. He honestly was the one who got me thinking about comedy as not just like, I'm going to make people laugh, but I'm going to make a lot of serious social commentary to it. And of course, there are people before him. You always have to think of like George Carlin when that comes to that type of stuff. And he's actually one of the biggest influences when I first started doing comedy. He had this hour-long interview, and one of the quotes that really stuck out to me was that a lot of comedy comes from this place of anger. And not just this anger of like, I stubbed my toe, but this anger of looking at the world and being like, hey, this thing is like weird. Why is nobody else talking about how weird this is? Like, I guess I'll use like my position as a comedian to talk about why this is weird, and why aren't we acknowledging it's weird, and what does it say about us as a society that we're not willing to like have a more open conversation about why things are weird. So I think when it comes to national, comics you've heard of, it's George Carlin, Dave Chappelle. I mean, of course you have Chris Rock. Just people who are willing to talk about, it's not just about like, I'm going to make funny poop jokes, but like, I'm going to make jokes that talk about our society as a whole and kind of try to educate people while I'm telling those jokes. So I think the biggest advice I would give to someone starting off in comedy is trust your sense of humor. There's this great quote by Ira Glass, the guy who does This American Life, about how you get into something because you have this killer taste, but you keep getting disappointed because the stuff you're making doesn't live up to that taste. And you just have to keep going and going and going at it until it catches up. But I think the biggest thing is trust your sense of humor. If you have like a good joke idea and like you think it's funny, like it's gonna suck the first 10, 20 times you do it. You just have to keep getting up, figuring out what you think is funny and how to communicate that to the audience. And a lot of times that might take you in a very different direction, but think about like why it's funny, and then how do you translate that into people who aren't in your head? How do you get them to believe it's funny? I think the biggest advice I could give to someone starting off is trust your sense of humor. You can find me, I'm on Facebook, Kwasi Mensah. I'm on Twitter, Insomniac2846. I think those are the two main ways of finding me. All right, bye.